So I don't know if you saw the news today of the Romeros talking about having their funding just pulled from them at the last minute. They did nothing wrong. Now all of a sudden they're without any funding for their team. And we've seen this again and again. And so first of all, in my comments, if you're going to act like you have a bunch of inside knowledge when you don't of why these studios deserve to close, you can go away. You can go away. This weird hatred and the weird cheering for the death of companies and game companies while you say that you like games can just fucking go away, okay? That culture can go fuck off to the end of time. All right? So we're going to be adults here. So here, hopefully I cleared out the children. The filter of me using the word fuck means you're not allowed to watch this video. But this kind of stuff is freaking heartbreaking. This is absolutely heartbreaking. Because these are like the middle. When I talk about the middle dying, this is what I'm talking about. It's just, there's no room for these games anymore. And so Microsoft decides they don't care the quality of the game. At the end of the day, they're not willing to place the bet and put the money behind it. And I know what you're saying. And this is in the comments talking about like what should Xbox do now. It's just like, oh, Balatro. Just make another Balatro. Like, for Balatro, there's 1,000 other devs that failed. So while it works for the consumer end, that tools are super easy to use, and we're seeing a lot more games in the pipeline, for the people actually in the industry, it's not as sustainable as it used to be because it's very much harder to get that attention because there's all these other games. And so the actual number of studio closures and things like this happening rise up, right? Does that make sense? And as the end customer, we don't really see a big difference, except we do see that we don't see games made by these mid-sized teams as much because they're just not getting the funding anymore. Because I look at this and I go, well, where do I go? Where do I go? Where would I tell John to go with this? And I can't think of any place, right? Like, oh, go to Humble Bundle. They're funding $15 million. Yeah, they're gone, right? All of those studios closed up because they have the same thing is they can't put enough focus to build the game up high enough. And so these middle games, which used to find an audience and sell hundreds of thousands of copies, now sell 10,000 copies, 1,000 copies. And I get it. So we have to change the model. It's always that way, right? But like, what do you do? What do you do? How do you break through that? And some of it is like, I'm like, hey, I'm going to make a small little single player game because that can just live on. That can just exist in this space and it doesn't have to worry about a lot of these other things. And while the space for indie games is small, if I make it small enough, the return that I need on it to keep going is small enough that it can just go. But that means like I can't hire a bunch of people that I would like to hire to make the game better. And will that then cause people not to play the game because the animations aren't as smooth or whatever? I don't know, right? Like some of this is, am I making a mistake today that's going to bite me in the ass 3 years from now? I don't know. Right? Anybody who tells you how to market a game right now today doesn't know what they're talking about because it's already out of date. But for this kind of thing in the middle, like I've had lawyers reach out to me on a thing that I thought was a sure bet and that we were about to get the money in our bank account, and they just told me stop spending money on this. And then next day there's some big news about some big publisher or big developer and how they're just closing all the projects. Or 3 times we've had this happen. And it takes a mental toll. Like there's a point where you're just like, why even try? Right? And the same with fundraising. Like when I was doing fundraising, even the initial fundraising that went really well and we raised money is hard. It's exhausting. And it's exhausting in a way that's hard to describe of how much you have to put out there. And then to just get this response and you're just like talking to a wall, or you're just talking to people who just clearly don't get it or get games or, yeah. And I get it. There's going to be a bunch of comments in here of how it's so easy. All you need to do is, it's not. Everything when you're sitting there in those rooms and you're getting the ideas together and you're like, man, this is a good idea. We should make this game. This is going to fucking rock. This is going to rock. Like, I like these games, but I don't like these parts of them. I'm going to take that and I'm going to put this over here and I'm going to have this story. This story is a really cool story to go about this. And this is a way that, like, yeah. And it makes total sense. And you're excited. And then problems happen, engine problems happen, technology happens, art happens, right? We keep, man, in my comments so many times, there's this discussion where they act like it's just code and that's what makes the game. It's so much more, right? And you're juggling that. And Microsoft is just bad at that. Microsoft is good at honing things down, being efficient, but they're just not good at being creative. And it shows. And it takes a different way to run a company in a different space. But they also might just be right. And they just might be right that this middle is so hard now. And so people like the Romeros are just going to get squeezed out. Because, like, where do you go? What do you do? Yeah, again, you can do solo dev stuff. You can... But, like, I think, when I think of games and making games, I think in FPSs. I think in story. I think in worlds. I think in, like... I'm not going to make Balatro, because that's just not the game space, the design space I think in. Right? Or Slay the Spire. And then Slay the Spire's like, hey, one day we got a Chinese streamer. And they really pumped up our game and it took off, and that's why we're successful. But it's not, because also that they update it every week. And that's why I'll talk about, like, for games, it being everything or nothing, right? Like, everything matters and nothing matters. And you never know. And you never know. Like, again, something I'm doing today. Like, oh my God. Right? Like, I have negative reviews and people telling me that Chet says that we should just play games in museums. I didn't say that. It doesn't matter. I almost made a video about all of that, because this is not about that. It's about just how people communicate these days. Where I don't know anymore. Right, and that's when I talk with people starting out or small teams. I'm like, a lot of what I'm gonna tell you is I don't know. Here's what I've heard from other people, and I talk to a lot of people, so that a way that I'm talking with them, and it's not necessarily my knowledge, but the passing around of this other knowledge of what people are learning. But everything gets so quickly out of date. And so something that you had was a good idea 5 years ago isn't a good idea now, right? And why don't you make games faster? Why don't you make games slower? Why don't you, like... This one bummed me out. All bummed me out, don't get me wrong. But, like, this one bummed me out, of good people doing the right thing in the right way. And we will never see this again. Like, we won't see this, right? Like, and someone's like, oh, crowdfunded, blah, blah, blah. Like, that doesn't do it. And that doesn't come free. So yeah, it's a weird time to be in the game industry. It's always a weird time, like, honestly, but, like, it just feels really weird now of that it's a really hard time to figure out. Oh, and by the way, whatever you do, don't listen to some fucking YouTuber who wants to charge you money to learn how to get in the game industry because he's got the secrets or whatever. Like, just block those people. I found that YouTube block thing for Chrome. Best thing ever. But yeah, don't pay money. But also in times like this, the best thing you can do is invest in yourself. And that means doing work, learning things, being ready. But yeah, I was going to talk about something else this morning. I'm in a bad mood. So best of luck to the Romeros and their team. Maybe someone sees their post and does come through. But I don't know who anymore.